is going to start to look at itself a little bit differently. Fun fact, only 14% of American GDP is linked to international trade. 5% of that is NAFTA. 5% of that is energy. Because of shale, in as little as 5 years, only 4% of our GDP, 1, 2, 3, 4, is going to be linked to the rest of the world. The global economic system is linked to us, is dependent upon us economically and militarily. How long is our attention span? There's a change coming. In the world we know now, we have a lot of capital, we've got global free trade, we have a system that the Americans keep up. I'd argue that in the not too distant future, we're moving into the world where the Americans have kind of lost focus because we don't need to have focus. We control the global military system and the global maritime system, but we're not benefiting from it anymore because there's not a strategic fight that we're waging. Throw in shale, and all of a sudden, one of the primary reasons for being involved in the globe writ large disappears. For the last 50 years, we've used energy to guarantee trade, and trade to guarantee our alliance, and our alliance to guarantee our security. Now we can have our security without the alliance or without the trade and without the energy. It's a very different world. The question is, how do we get from here to there? And that's going to be the next 5 years, and that's kind of a mess. Now, this is a great time to be president because you got a global system that's there, but you don't really need. Energy's taken care of. There's no one out there who's on the rise to kind of kick you off your perch. But, well, what do you do? The United States is really not good at devising strategic plans. And I don't mean that as a criticism of this president specifically, although that is legit. But we haven't had a president since maybe Bush Sr. that has really had a foreign policy that was coherent. And he was the aberration as American presidents go. We are moving into this system without a strategic plan and really without even a national dialogue about what we want to do, which means there's going to be a lot of things happening around us, not necessarily to us, that we need to be aware of. But from the rest of the world's point of view, this is going to be a problem because the Americans are a little different. Every culture in the first century and a half of its existence goes through a series of formative experiences. And they shape what sort of people that culture is going to be. In the case of the United States, it was clearly the pioneer period. People, for the cost of a Kia car today, about $11,000 in today's money, could load up the family into a Conestoga wagon with a year's worth of seeds, head west, stake out a claim, start exporting grain within a year for hard currency income. That was totally unheard of in human history. It was the fastest economic and cultural experience that the world has ever seen, even faster than the Mongols, if you can believe that. As a result, Americans became convinced that everything can, would, should, must is ordained to get better every single year. Now, everybody calls this a little bit differently, but I think the technical term is batshit crazy. Because whenever the rest of the world comes to visit us on our terms and punctures our idyllic existence, we overreact. We don't have context. So a couple quick examples. Sputnik, beeping aluminum grapefruit. Really, people, we were ahead in electronics. We were ahead in metallurgy. We were even ahead in rocketry. Just for insurance reasons, we decided not to launch the damn thing until we were sure it all worked out. Everybody's heard of Sputnik. Has anybody heard of Vanguard 1? Vanguard 1 was our satellite that launched just 6 months after Sputnik. Sputnik burned up by the time Vanguard launched. Vanguard is still up there. As a overreaction to Sputnik, we completely refabricated our economic and military structure. We changed our educational system. We're still coasting on that today. Japanophobia in the 1980s, that's my personal favorite. We became convinced that a country that we occupied at the time and had nuked and that had less arable land than the U.S. state of Connecticut had, not would, had overtaken us as the global superpower. Wall Street, the most internationally aware segment of our economy, forced a series of restructurings upon corporate America that generated so much efficiency and technological gain and spare capital that we were able to self-fund the internet revolution without a dime of foreign money. We overreact. We don't have a concept of anything but good and bad. We don't have a concept of what works and what doesn't, and what threatens us and what doesn't. And so when we perceive a threat, we throw absolutely everything that we have at it. And when you do that as the global superpower with complete control of the trade network, wow, crazy stuff happens real fast. Here's a few examples.